Hello everyone, we are back, this time with Lily.
Hi.
This is Lily, and Adam of course.
Hello.
There he is. And last month, last time, we actually did a little pilot. We've cleaned a few things up. You can see I've tweaked a few things here on the video, and we're going to work on all sorts and keep getting better. But Lily's joining us this week. Lily is my stepsister, and I've known Lily for a while, so I've got to watch Lily go through a few things. One of which is finding out, you had a little diagnosis, which I'll let you tell us about a little bit in your own way of autism. Yeah. So that's something that's quite relevant to the podcast, of course. So what we're going to talk about is essentially the different experiences of when you get diagnosed. Because Lily's 10 years younger than I am. I haven't officially been diagnosed, but I've been on a list for almost 3 years. And Adam, if you want to remind us about yourself.
I was on a list for 4 years, then got to uni, final year of uni, I got diagnosed, so that's roughly 4 years in total.
Yeah, so you're kind of in that, you have been diagnosed, and you're a bit younger than me, but older than Lily, so we've kind of got three separate experiences here. Someone that's just been waiting a long time and has kind of gone through not diagnosed, thinking he's just a bit, like, what's going on here? And then we've got someone that's starting adult life that knows that's how they function, and someone that, as they were an adult, found out that's why they function maybe the way they do. So
I think it's going to be very interesting to see everyone's perspectives, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean,
in a way,
we're all lucky because nobody here is above 30. And I think there's a lot of people out there that don't find out until they're 30 or 40, maybe some people in the 50s, because of the way diagnosis has changed over the years, along with the terminology, along with the methodology, and culture. I mean, when you went to school, did you feel like autism was a stigma? Did you feel like it was something people laughed about, or just was a thing?
I feel like it just wasn't mentioned.
It wasn't really mentioned, yeah.
I don't think I went to school with anyone who found out they were autistic until they laughed.
But did you feel, when someone mentioned to you about maybe you're autistic, or when you found out you were autistic, did you feel like a sense of shame or anything? Was there anything about it that felt wrong?
No. Like, I didn't know anything until I looked it up, and then I thought, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing is that I see your generation, and it's almost like people are a bit autistic, and I think it's genuinely meant quite endearingly. Whereas when I went to school, I'm pretty sure, and that's just 10 years difference, I'm pretty sure it was actually, some people were quite unkind about those sorts of things. And I don't think there was even a conception that autism would be something your average Joe would have. I think there was an idea that autistic people were not in school with you. It was almost like they're in a separate school altogether. So, yeah, I mean, Adam, what was it like for you?
It depends on how far I look back, realistically. Because if we look back at when I was in junior school, so just before 10 or near to 10, because I can't remember when, but I remember having someone who was autistic, and it wasn't like, it was very obvious in the way that, the stereotypes would have. It was a lot like that. But he was generally one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
Yeah.
He was non-verbal. He was lovely. And then you look then how I then go into then secondary school, not really seeing it anymore. You're then getting more high functioning, so like myself.
Yeah.
Obviously, all three of us. It is one of these things that you can't really see anymore, especially nowadays. I think more people are trying to not mask than mask now, because I feel like it's more accepted. Unlike most probably during mine and Archie's day during school, where you kind of mask yourself to protect yourself.
I think it's something that, if you aren't aware that you may be functioning differently, which is completely fine, you have to fit in. You have to, match yourself into a group. And I think it's probably affected us all a little bit differently. I mean, I was a bit of a chameleon, so I sort of moved around different groups, and I made friends with different people. My relationships were all based around trying to be like them. And I remember defining moments, such as when I was in school. I remember a defining moment being I joined the cadets because the group of friends I was with joined cadets, and I'd never thought about it. And while I appreciate the experience, I remember when we did a basic training we went to not camping, we went to a building. I don't even know how you'd call it. Like, we almost went to almost like an army thing, training grounds, and we did the basic training, and I got my basic training and everything. But I remember leaving, and I'd fallen out with a group of people, and I just thought, well, I'm not going back, because I was never there for me. And it was because it was part of an elaborate mask, which was, I want to fit in, right? They're doing that. My friends are doing that. I should do that. So I did that. And then the moment the friendship ended, it's gone. No reason for me to be there. Completely cut it off, immediately returned the uniform, never looked back. Because that was a mask. And I never thought about, well, I don't want to, and I don't need to fit in. I can do what I want to do. Which at the time, and to this day, is play video games and do designy art stuff. So
no, I was always with the smart people. I knew how to work my way around. But it's like, I knew if I could get with the smart people, they could then try to help me teach, like, myself what's going on. But then I fell into the rugby crowd as well during that time, and all that kind of stuff. But there wasn't a big rugby crowd in my secondary.
Did it feel like you were doing it for you, or you were doing it for them?
The rugby crowd was for me, due to, as we learned last time that I got suspended because I got angry. I was a very angry kid, and that is a multiple thing for both my autism and my ADHD. Is that it's very natural. So it was a way of allowing me to get away from the anger and all that, where I can just literally hit a same age kid as me or a year below, because that's when I was playing or whatever, and then not get annoyed anymore during school. But funny enough, I always did, and I had fun. But yeah, it is a bit weird though. Lily, what about you? Where were you always in groups kind of stuff in school during the time?
She's more fairly recent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That like weird middle ground of like kids who aren't like losers if people don't look at them.
Kids that aren't losers.
No, but like you know, the kids who are viewed as like losers. And then not the popular kid, that middle ground where nobody really acknowledges your presence. You're just kind of there.
That kind of, when I said the chameleon kind of thing, I kind of felt like I was just blending in between groups. Okay. Did you do things you wanted to do, or did you do things that other people wanted to do?
I think as I got older, I did more. But like when I was like starting secondary school, we had like a big group of friends, and it was just kind of like that middle ground of just people who knew each other.
Yeah, and did you suspect, or did anyone mention the idea of autism, of anything like that while you were in school?
Yeah, when I was like, I think 14.
And what made that come up?
I think because it was my form tutor, and she said because I was really, really, really anxious all of the time.
Okay.
Like, all the time, so I spent a lot of time with just like my form tutor. And she said that one of her daughters was autistic, and she noticed a lot of similar traits.
Okay.
And how we acted very similarly.
So a teacher, that's a teacher just talking about it quite gently, really, and relating to you. It never came up. For me, never. Was never, ever a thing. In fact, I don't even know if the word autism was mentioned in school in any of the time I was there. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. It's probably not a good thing. I really don't recall. I mean, it very well might have come up, but no one ever said to me, because I used to have panic attacks in school. I used to have I had a lot of anxiety, and the only time that was acknowledged was when I basically almost fainted because of some biology class, and I didn't even know I had a phobia. I still to this day don't know why I had that particular phobia or had that phobia, but no one said why is he like this. But the whole time I was trying to get through it all, and I kind of just got through it all by messing around in a healthy way. I mean, I didn't really cause any trouble. I had a bit of a tricky year 8, but year 8, year 9. But most of the time it was doodling. I doodled. I have a doodle book which I've scanned in as PDF, and I've also still got the physical copies, all not laminated but in a nice secure thing. Because I would doodle and create stickmen and like different realms and creations and cuts in reality, and I'd have things from one page to another, and I'd do basically comic books. Yeah, that's how I would cope. I'd need a thing to be doing. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if you two had a thing. I had to always have something with me, something I was doing.
I always had a TA next to me.
You always had a TA.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Person?
Yeah.
I couldn't fit that in my pocket.
No.
No.
Nor
was I offered one. It never came up.
No, it was a weird thing because I came in year 6. They realised I was a bit weird and a bit special.
Right.
And and they were like, "Hey Adam, do you think it'll be necessary to have a person next to you?" I was like, "Sure." Year 6, not realistically understanding what they're meaning or anything like that. So I met one of the longest serving TIs I've had, and I've had her for like loads of it, and then I had some other people coming in every now and again, changing up.
You actually had support with you then?
Yeah,
what
having
triggered
support
that?
with me.
What triggered them to...
My SAT levels were horrific, I think.
Right, okay.
And I think they were like, okay, a bit weird. And then I think because then we did that swap over day. I don't know if you guys have that, because obviously you guys are up north, I'm south.
Swap over?
But it's like, yeah, so like you're year 6, and then you have like a day, and you get to meet everyone who's going into a year.
Yes, we had that.
And
very
with that,
anxiety-inducing.
Oh, massively. I also nearly started a fight on it as well.
Okay,
and no one knows about that either. But I didn't mean to either. I did
I'm
questioning
something. If is it a TA or is it security? But not for you. It's security for everybody else.
Everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a TA. Because as soon as I got, because she was like 5'2", and obviously when I started growing, then she just came smaller and smaller and smaller. It was quite funny for me. But yeah, they thought
by the end then.
100%. But yeah, it was just one of these things where I don't know how I got it. I don't know why I had it, but I know I had it because it was necessary for me to do it.
Someone's looking out for you, which is good.
Yeah, and it went then to a point of like year 11, obviously back end of the year GCSEs. I didn't have any TAs, but I then had 5 access arrangements for exams.
So you had a lot going on. I think that's maybe something we all had.
With no diagnosis as well.
Yeah.
Just out of their sheer kindness.
So that would have helped you with exams. I had a problem with exams because my phobia had developed, and this is potentially because of my autism, who knows, suspected autism. I couldn't sit in an exam because I would have a panic attack. And I would sweat and get incredibly hot, feel sick, feel like I'm going to faint. And I used to feel embarrassed to say this, but today it's more funny than anything. But it is symptomatic of the issues I was going through that people weren't picking up on. I slept in exams. I was so overwhelmed, and I know this now. I was so overstimulated, ironically, by how quiet it was and by how much was going on. And the exam and the pressure and the different people walking around. I shut down, and I would literally justify in elaborate ways, which is potentially PDA, that form of pathological demand avoidance, knowing I have to do the exam. I would tell myself, well, it's not a real exam because it was a mock, or well, this doesn't matter to me. I would do a lot of that, or I would do, well, I filled everything in, so it's fine. I was fortunate that I was quite good at picking things up, so I could get through things, but I really did rely in my exams on pure, what can my brain do right now? And I would have terror every morning for about a year or two when I went into school because of assemblies and because of exams and mocks, because I did not feel comfortable until sixth form, where I put my foot down and I went straight to the head, which was lovely, Miss Caney, and I said, I can't do this, I need help, because it took me so long to work out, and because I was masking constantly.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think with that, it's like with me, I was always allowed to the extra room because I had a scribe and I had a reader.
That's what
So
I got
obviously
in the end.
and that was a godsend.
Oh, it saved my life.
Like, granted,
Yeah.
like, and I will be honest, like, granted, I think my GCSEs are mainly D's and C's. That's it. Like, and then again, we're going to talk about success stories at some point during this podcast. But obviously, go from D's and C's to a 2-1 degree in media is a bit of a step.
Yeah. Which is, just to interject, that there takes us just a little bit back to the point. So because of you getting the diagnosis, and because Lily's had a diagnosis as well, you will both be in a better position were in a better position in your case, to actually get through that degree. I had a lot of things go wrong at university. A lot. Social, mental, dietary. I didn't eat correctly. My sleep pattern completely exploded. My entire routine was consistently struggling. I relied on basically just running on fumes a lot. And I struggled with my attention span. And I had no support for the whole thing pretty much until the last year or so. But unfortunately, I did have a bit of I had a brain aneurysm, which caused me to have short-term memory issues. So that added to the pile of problems. But I never at any point was considered I'm struggling because of this. So I got no support from DSA. I didn't have a mentor, which is incredibly important. I think you can attest to that. You understand how important that is. An academic mentor, which if I had been spotted younger, or if ironically I wasn't masking so hard, so elaborately, maybe it would have been picked up that there's something cognitively going a bit different in my brain. And we need to talk about Lily as well, about how relatively recent, how did your exams go? And what did you think? This is just before your diagnosis, isn't it, really?
Yeah. I mean, they were exams, but I had the separate room as well. But I think that's because it was that weird, middle ground of, there'd be, 10 people in your room.
Okay.
So
I had,
not an
5.
exam hall, but not completely isolated.
So and this is really interesting, because despite our difference of when we were diagnosed, we've all had, in exams as early as GCSE/A-level, that kind of area, we've all had the separate room or the limit, because something has pushed us to say these overwhelming crowds, and it's probably due to pressure, anxiety, overstimulation, and genuinely that high pressure environment probably really, really burns any masks away. It probably makes it, in your case, Adam, you're quite lucky to have someone basically say, get this guy a TA so early, and then it probably encouraged a lot of systems. And if we all had that one-to-one nature, everyone would probably be great.
Yeah, I think as well with that, because my mum's she's an SEN person. She's done it pretty much all of her career, if I remember correctly. This is now where she watches this and says I'm not actually. But she I think she realised with it when I was young and didn't want to do anything, and no levels, no nothing. It's me. But it's not I think that I remember her saying that they had a chat with the whole wellbeing people to help me out with all of this. Yeah. But I don't know when that was.
You say she was SEN, you said?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
She deals with a lot of people. She deals with a lot of people who are either struggling or mentally struggling through GCSEs or throughout school. What does it, and all that. So
what does it stand for, SEN?
No idea.
No, I'm not sure.
I can't go that far.
Special education needs?
Possibly.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. But she went from a school called Cottenham, which is a little village just outside where I live, and now she's part of a bigger private school, in Cambridge, and she still works with people like myself and all that kind of stuff, and she keeps saying that she regrets not getting me tested sooner.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I needed that way of like, okay, I am different, that's fine, cool, but I can still do what I need to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, especially with this hot weather, we're doing this when it's like 28.
It's pretty warm. Windows wide open.
Yeah.
You know?
And, it's like I struggle drinking a lot of water or fluids throughout the day. So I'm more than likely going to get a headache by the end of the day because my brain doesn't say, oh, you need to drink water.
After this podcast, you're getting some water. During this podcast, you have some water. Good. I'm glad. I fortunately have recently, not to mention any brands, many brands are available. I've been drinking a lot of carbonated water, a lot of sparkling water. I found it really helps. It's a sensory thing because, and this is a thing as well. It's things like diet, things like food. I never thought, I have sensory needs, but there's a reason why I drink certain drinks, eat certain foods, and they are absolutely sensory, and I didn't know that. It's like when I was younger, I had a routine, and my mother, who will probably be listening, she'll know about this. I had milk and biscuit every single night, and I don't know when it stopped, but it was for years and years and years, and I remember it being a very particular part of my routine that I absolutely adored every night.
Was it just one biscuit?
I think it was one multiple? Or two. It was digestive.
Okay, I was about to say if it...
Yeah, which is fine. Weird because
easy. Yeah.
I think I clean my teeth, but I'm thinking, I had biscuits after I clean my teeth. But then again, milk, calcium, maybe it balanced it out. Who knows? The milkman.
Yes. So, Lily, how has things changed since the diagnosis? Because obviously, you're still quite young, and you still got a majority of your life to go compared to Archie.
Yeah. I'm going to live forever. I'm going to learn how to fly.
That's what I like.
Yeah.
So how has it changed? How is it affecting you now?
I think it just makes things easier. So when I was 15 and doing you know you're different, but you don't know why.
Yeah.
You don't know like I really struggled making friends and keeping friends.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand why.
Did it feel like a different frequency? Because that's how I describe it. It's very, very personal way.
I don't know. I just I just felt like I was always just that one step removed from everyone.
Yeah. I mean, to be quite honest, one step removed, different frequency.
Yeah.
We have our own ways of explaining it. Adam's probably got a way too. I mean, do you have a way that you would describe it that's akin to that?
No, it's just people didn't like me.
I know, because you're a bit of an audiophile, so to speak.
Yeah.
I'd reckon you'd say that you're on a bit different BPM.
Oh, beats per minute, nice. I like that. Yeah. The stupid thing is that, with me, I'm still very, very good friends with one of my best mates.
Good.
Obviously. And I've known him for ages now. And it's yes, he's more of an adult than me because he's been working for the last 5 years ish.
Oh, who knows? Who defines adult these days?
I know, but he's got nearly a house. He's nearly moved out, and I'm like, damn, bro.
Each at their own pace, Adam.
Yeah, I know, but
can't rush these
but
things.
It's I can when it's him, and he's getting better than me, and he's more stupid than I am, and that is saying something.
Well, I hope he's not listening to the podcast.
No, you won't. He can
barely
deal with me now, so.
That's fair enough. But the thing is, it must obviously, that's part of it as well. Because I've not known about autism for a while, I am in groups or have been in groups of friends where it has actually been a joke, and people have joked about how I'm autistic, and it's this funny thing where I never took offence to it. But I do remember a time where I said, I'm not. Oh, very funny. No, you're more autistic than me. And it was almost, because of that nature, And I don't even feel like that's something that your friends group would ever really do.
No,
Maybe playfully? I don't know.
Yeah, the only people I'm still friends with from like school or like college was one of them who's also autistic.
Well, there, yeah,
And my other
good.
friend, like we joke about it, but it's never it's nothing about it's mean. It's just like she'll send me like a funny like TikTok or something that's about like autism.
Would you say you've lost friends because of your autism without knowing? Or...
Yeah.
Okay, well there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I've lost friends directly because of it, and I mean that in the sense that there are friends I've had that there are very clear, and I believe particular friends, I'm not going to name names, it wouldn't matter anyway if I did, no, people out there don't know them, but I'm very sure they are autistic as well. They have, and I think it's great, in a sense, it's great that they don't know that, or they've not been diagnosed, because it has allowed certain people I know to be very successful in a particular area. And, in a way I'm proud of that, because I know now, with all the learning I've done definitely over the last 5 years, but especially inwards, I know this person is probably on the spectrum. But we stopped being friends simply because their worldview was very specific to facilitate their success in the field they were in. And I tried to offer them essentially perspectives of money isn't everything, and you don't have to be the best at everything. And but they got very locked into I would say, hyperfixations on success. What it means, they hear something about, oh, you are the average of the 5 people around you the most, and they would lock into it, and they would take it as gospel. And I tried to slow them down a bit, and they would say things like, they'd say I'm autistic as an insult, which now, more than ever, I realise is actually probably a projection of what because they were smart, and they are smart, and I hope they're doing well. They probably are doing well, but they come from a position of autism being bad, therefore they are not. Despite the fact, I will say, I believe they owe a lot of their success to being uniquely autistic, which I think is you can say the same for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think that's where, I think I have definitely lost friends because of the way I act, because of the autism. But also, equally, I think I can also say I've lost, relationships, girlfriends and all that kind of stuff, because of that as well.
I think it can be very difficult.
That's the most harshest thing. Someone who you think loves you for you and all that kind of stuff, and then it goes. But it's the way the cookie crumbles.
It is.
Sadly, for a lot of things.
Do you feel like it's something that, if from the get-go is out there and clear? I mean, I personally think that if you know you are, and the person, they know they are, for example, or suspect or everything like that, I think that probably really helps the relationship long-term.
Yeah, I think so. But then it's also to the point, though, it's like with a load of people, especially with my friends from uni, it's like, oh, how can I help?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. A lot of the time, I don't have the answer.
Yeah, sometimes it's just about knowing there's probably something going on. I mean, would you say that knowing you're autistic helps you navigate your relationships in your life, all sorts of relationships? Do you think it is? Do you think having that label, and I know it's for some people it's a label, for some people it's an answer, for some people it's an explanation. For some people, it can be seen as a burden. I mean, it depends on your perspective, depends on who you are, depends on when you grew up, and depends on who's around you. But if it's helped you,
I think it has.
In what way would you say it's helped you the most, especially being young and it being early? Do you think it can help define your whole life almost as a framework?
Yeah, I think it just helps being or I don't know how to describe it, but when I met Jack, when I met my boyfriend, I was kind of just straight up you can. I feel like the more you get to know me, the more obvious it can become. And so I just went straight up. Look,
that's masks and masks fading away. And if you could, to be honest, you're almost approaching somebody and peeking out under the mask and saying, "I'm here too, but I'm just going to put this back on for a bit."
Yeah, I was just I just told him up front that I was autistic. Cause I feel like that's just because I don't have that fear then of if I if I get more comfortable
Yeah.
and unmask without
Yeah.
realising, because I don't know when I'm masking or when I'm not.
I've had to learn.
I
and
don't know.
It's you'll probably get better at it.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll come to Adam in a minute, but I mean, it's hard to speak from obviously the perspective of myself, but I can see them. I see the masks. I see how they change. I see how a phone call changes. I see how my presenter right now it's the storyteller presenter, and I like to see them almost as skills, almost as personas. They are me. They are the parts of me I think are useful right now, and the way and the tone and all the amalgamation of what I've learned in my life at this moment. But it is draining, and I know it is.
Very.
As I'm doing it, and I can't stop it. It is there, and I think that's probably because I never knew it was happening. So it's ingrained within me. So being aware has helped me to see, okay, I know when I'm masking. I know when I'm not masking. And I know how that can come across. It can come across as very negative, very tone deaf, very flat. And it tends to be when I'm absolutely exhausted. It's very easy to be misinterpreted.
Yeah, and it's just like, I think the older I get, the more I try not to mask as much, because I've just kind of feel like,
yeah,
I like being autistic is who I am at
Yes.
this point. Like, if you only like me when I've got a mask up, then you don't really like me.
Yeah, and because you know that's a thing,
Yeah, so I just
you
kind
can
of
separate them.
I'm just upfront, or like with like certain things, like I think knowing I was autistic helped, because like certain things I can't do. It's not me not wanting to do it. It's like I physically can't get myself to do it.
It's a battery. Yeah.
If I'm upfront with people when I meet them, then
Yeah.
they know it isn't me being like rude or something. I like physically can't do it. If that makes sense.
I think it was early enough for you to be able to recognise how it affected you, but you still experienced time where you were confused.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, Adam, what about you and masks? How about you? Do you feel you have masks? What do you feel like you particularly focus in on? What's your area that you feel's been affected and that changed
Every
when
day.
you found out?
I still mask. I know I do. Is purely because I generally don't know me underneath it. It's been for so long. I've done it for so long. It's kind of just stuck.
Yeah. Which is, it's probably, in a way, you're where I was 4 or 5 years ago, before it even starting to be questioned, because it's almost you found out during uni, and you kind of now know your mask, but you're still working out where's the you, where's the mask, where's...
Yeah, well, it's like with my ex, I got very comfortable with, and some things did fall down, and all of these hypothetical pillars, let's say, were broken, and I think that's when I was the most me in the respect of like behind closed doors when I'm with her. But since then, I was talking, because I played snooker with my granddad this morning before we recorded this, and we had talked about how I've been changing since secondary to now and all of that.
Yeah.
And it was like, surely secondary is where you change most. I was like, no, I don't see that as it, because yes, I had a lot of hardship in secondary with people seeing me as my brother and all of that kind of stuff, and thinking, oh, if Adam's brother can do this, oh, so can Adam, and basically treating me the same, and that's not right. But arguably from the breakup from my ex was the biggest way possible, because I was back in that Ivo situation where I was standing up for where I was standing up who I am, and also I'm masking to the point where I know that it's safe, not where it was beforehand where I was angry. If I was angry, yeah, okay, a wall still might get punched, or a tree or something like that, but there was a lot less of it. And seeing that mask come away from the anger side of things, like I know my anger's still with me, I know that that's there, but that'll hopefully die down as it gets when I get older.
Yeah.
But the masking side of things, I think, is a lot more difficult trying to figure out for me, because it's been every shade of grey for as long as I can remember. So coming out of it is if I want to, is going to be quite tough. I think I will when I find the right person to chill out with.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's you know, to tie everything back into what we're talking about, it's understanding yourself, and obviously the earlier you get, Lily, the quicker you could potentially nip certain things in the bud, and if it takes longer, it takes longer. I mean, I went for a long time, just because you both mentioned relationships, I went for a long time without a relationship, and I did genuinely think, you know, there's something disconnected about me, there's something not quite right, because I didn't quite understand how to function like everybody else, and it was when I decided to stop trying that things started to make more sense. And you know, at the end of the day, people with autism, they identify each other, they can see each other, and they can understand each other. And when that's the case, I think nothing can really stop you as long as you persist, and so long as you listen and you understand. Because you might have autism, you might not have autism, you might have very different kinds of autism. But if you listen to each other, you can probably work through it. It can probably actually get better. And it's certainly one of those things that, in an ideal world, everyone gets along, no matter autistic, non-autistic, any other kind of, you know, conditions, disorders, different ways of functioning on different kinds of spectrums. You know, there's many different terms, lots of different terminology out there. And that's even something that's still being worked out to this day. I mean, us three here, we have grown up in times where it's evolved, and it still is evolving. And by the time, you know, we are all in our 30s, 40s, I'm pretty certain the terms we may use in our day-to-day language are probably not even going to be applicable anymore, because it'll evolve even more. And it will be less about being diagnosed with autism and kind of a presumption from birth that everyone's an individual, and we'll hopefully we'll be able to, you know, help everyone out in the way they need. But that's all about the future. That's a whole other topic, and hopefully that will lead to success stories, which I think we'll talk about next week.
Ooh.
Just to segue into that. But yeah, any final thoughts, Lily, Adam?
Don't be stressed.
That's always nice. Stress is hard to avoid. It's part of your toolkit is to manage stress, and knowing things like, if you're autistic, for example, will help to manage those kind of expectations and manage what you need. So that probably helped you as well, actually, recently. You know, the more thinking about it's probably helped you avoid stresses, know things that affect you, and understand that it's okay if you feel like they're not rational. It's part of your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, by the way.
Well, thank you.
I'm sure Lily will be back at some point. Lily has an interest in many different things. And, you know, we'll have lots of different podcasts talking about different things. And I'm sure you'll be invited along to one of those.
Yay.
Very applicable here. Everyone here's got special interest. And Adam,
Yes.
as always, we'll see you next week, along with me.
Yes.
We're not doing any specific podcasts yet about any specific things, just general stuff, building it up. And, well, any final words? Other than don't be stressed? Bosh.
And don't be
say
stressed.
bosh. But yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. If you want to check out Bridge Mentoring's website, www.bridgementoring.co.uk or .com, lots of information there. Still being worked on, still growing, still being developed. And Instagram as well. What's the social media? At?
Bridge Mentoring CIC.
Bridge Mentoring CIC. Community Interest Company, that means. Check those out. We release different things there about things such as double empathy and what's another recent post? PDA, and kind of explain different things like that. So Bridge Mentoring does mentor people at university, going through studying, and essentially we also just want to help inform everybody. But that's all part of what this is. Thanks for tuning in. Until next week. Bye.